The following gameplay has been recorded by professionals. Do not attempt this at your local game store. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Christopher has asked us to do something a little bit spicy in a Mono Black Aggro shell. And I know I'm probably on like 4 or 5 blue decks in a row, so don't worry. I'm going back to some of my roots of the good old Mono Black gameplay. So the Chancellor cycle sees a tiny bit amount of constructed play, with Chancellor of the Annex, the white one, often seeing play in unfair combo decks such as Reanimator, but you maybe haven't seen the black one before. You can reveal it from your opening hand. If you do, your opponent loses 3 life, and then you gain 3 life. Or at least that's the wording for a one-on-one format. And if somehow you got to 7 mana, it is also a 6/6 flying lifelinker, but generally speaking, we're probably not going to do that. It could happen. You know, sometimes you cast a 6-drop like a Troll of Khazad-dum, but we're not going to be on like Ancient Tomb style mana today, where we're really going big. So I don't know that that's going to happen. Let's take a look at Christopher's initial deck list, and I did a little bit of tuning. So this is the shell that Christopher sent me, which I think is pretty respectable. I didn't have to change too much. The general idea is, rather than being a Dark Ritual-based Mono Black Aggro deck, which is the norm, they are going to try to be a Chrome Mox deck list, with the idea being that you reveal a Chancellor at the beginning of the game, drop your opponent to 17, and then you either pitch the Chancellors to griefs over the course of a game, or you put them under Chrome Mox. It is theoretically possible to cast this card, but this is 17 lands plus 4 Chrome Mox, and like maybe you count this as like 23 mana sources in the deck. That is probably not enough to realistically cast this. But the general core idea makes sense. But I decided to make a few changes. So here's my updated version, and it is not fundamentally different. The big thing that I wanted to do is, like, if I'm going to play this card, which I think is a pretty unplayable card, but if I am going to play this card, fundamentally, my deck needs to be incredibly aggressive. Like, this 3 extra life loss needs to matter, and the way that I lean into this is by playing extra early game threats. So I'm going to try out Stalactite Stalker. And once I've done that, I need to add in a few fetch lands in order to help descend each turn. Mathematically speaking, I think I need 1 or 2 more fetch lands, but like I don't want to run out of fetchables, and like I have trolls in this deck as well. So like even at 5 swamps, I think that's a little sketch. But the deck wants to be playing Agadeem's Awakening because it works with like Chrome Mox and Grief. But like this has me nervous. You know, in fact, I think this has me nervous enough that I I do want more of those. Just like looking at this now and talking through it. I also do want to have actual swamps, as I did add a Snuff Out and a Dismember to this deck to kind of lower my curve a little bit and lean into that aggro role. And these can be hard cast for full price later on. And I swapped out the Phyrexian Obliterator for Sheoldred. I don't think you get to play Phyrexian Obliterator if you want to play Wasteland. Or you have to like start adding Urborg to your deck, and I think things get a little bit messy. Some questions that I have going into the league. How good is Exsanguinator Cavalry without Ancient Tomb or Dark Ritual? It feels like it is going to be a little bit weaker than normal. I don't necessarily want to add in Ancient Tomb, like I am playing black cards, like black pip cards, and I'm already trying to get away with Wasteland, so like that's a thing. So that's the first question I have. The second one is like, does this deck get away with this low of a land count? it might need 1 or 2 more lands, but the way to add more lands is to take the worst card out of the deck, so we're not gonna do that, because we want to test something fun. Sideboard is pretty tight here, with Force of Despair being an excellent way to clear out things like a whole bunch of goblins from a Turbo Muxus deck, or something, you know, very strong like a reanimated creature. Got Plague Engineers for opposing Bowmasters and small creature decks, and then we have just a few other random haymakers. Yeah, so with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the league here. If you find yourself needing some magic cards, maybe something from the new Fallout set, consider checking out toamagic.com and using promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order. Tales of Adventure is absolutely awesome. I love their store. And if you're looking for everything in one envelope, all from one vendor, no nonsense, check them out. They have a whole bunch of power and dual lands, and 99% of all standard too. Let's battle. So this is weird. 2/2 into 3/3 into 4/4? Is that good enough? It's good enough if Wasteland works on turn 2. Otherwise, it's just not. I'm going to say no on this. I'm rewarded with a no black mana hand. Classic. The 5's not bad. 5's going to be similar to the 7, but have more gas. The 1, 2, 3, probably 4, and keep one of these 2. Probably the Troll. So I think the plan is, like, do this off fetch land on turn 1 and Thoughtseize turn 2. Like, it sucks if this gets removed, but I think the way that I win this game is scale this up immediately, follow up with Thoughtseize and Wasteland as double disruption. I think that's the conceptual way to win. Those stalactites, they do be stalking. And we'll scale it up at end of turn. What you got, opponent? Oh, this is great. Ooh, I don't even think I Thoughtseize anymore. Like, we are very clearly the beatdown right now. And will probably very clearly be the beatdown in every round that we play today. We are built for speed. We don't have much in terms of an actual long game here. Ooh. Spicy. So this will make us descend, which is great. Get a better feel for what exactly my opponent is doing. It feels like a lands variant. My opponent says, no, you don't get to take a peek. So I am not going to be the best at answering a pile of Urza's Saga tokens, unless Plague Engineer on Construct does it. I have seen relatively few cards. Like, I've seen Urza's Saga, that's it. And I guess Echoing Deeps. So I don't have perfect knowledge of how good, like, Leyline versus Nullrod versus this stuff. I don't remember if I mentioned this in the intro, but, like, this is a lifelinker. That is something that can be relevant as, like, endgame inevitability if you survive for a really long time versus a deck like Delver. It would be relevant here to get us above 20 if my opponent is doing Merit Lage nonsense. I'm kind of worried about over-sideboarding. I might just do something small like board in 2 removal spells and not go in on, like, any of these 3 before I have full certainty about what my opponent is doing. So we don't have colored mana here, unfortunately. This is very actively good. I keep this pitching an Exsanguinator Cavalry, and I can do Grief Reanimate nonsense. I can do Troll Reanimate nonsense. Sure. So if my opponent untaps with this... Beautiful. If my opponent untaps with this Bojuka Bog is live, that probably means that I am going to reanimate immediately. Oh, oh, that's tilting. My opponent says, "Scam me, Daddy Phil." Oh. Oh. Fuck. So good. So absolutely savaged here. I don't have anything like Pithing Needle for Maze of Ith. I'll have to Wasteland it. Okay. So remember, this is a tappable forest. There are windows where this can be a removal spell. I think we're kind of in like, thanks, I hate it mode here. Hit our opponent for 2. I can't reanimate actively into Bojuka Bog, so I think I just have to pass the turn. I guess I swamp cycle this so I descend and hold up the wasteland. Yeah, so if my opponent searches, I get to wasteland them. So there's some tension here. This is currently wastelandable? Is this crop rotation bait? I know 3 of my opponent's 4 cards. This is crop rotation bait. It is excellent bait. My opponent can still search, but they are going down their core number of lands, and by taking out Yavimaya, I slow down the whole Dark Depths combo thing significantly. Doing this kind of makes my cavalry worse, so like that's a thing. Got it. A neutral is kind of whatever. Hit for 3. I attempt a reanimate that is going to get Bojuka bogged. Oh my gosh, an Elvish Reclaimer activation. Whatever could it be? Oh. It's not where I thought we were oh no, that's for the flagstones. Lush Portico off flagstones is hot. I like that a lot. Okay. That's expected. And now to descend, we do this. I need more oomph here. The single creature in play isn't doing it because of this. This gives my opponent time to set up. I could use this as a removal spell on this Elvish Reclaimer. Also Shoulder's Edict it away. Oh, I'll make the attack and force the tap on the Maze of Ith. It can matter if my opponent for some reason picks up Yavimaya, which I don't see them doing, but... Oh. This is not going to be the combat blowout that I want because, like, Maze of Ith is still a thing. This turn got surprisingly complicated. Like, I can let combat damage go through, kill the Elvish Reclaimer, Edict the Endurance, have an empty board. There's still the Maze of Ith. Shoulder's Edict can kill a non-token, which is important for Dark Depths. I don't know here. I think I'm going to let combat damage go through. The thing is, if I Edict before combat damage, my opponent just... Maze of Ith is my creature, and then they lose the Endurance rather than the Reclaimer. Please sacrifice... Actually, I don't really need to do this immediately. I can play my creature immediately and get this next turn. Alright, we knew that was coming at some point. Yeah, you got it. The attack is good because Maze of Ith exists. Am I willing to die to crop rotation? Probably. Yeah. My opponent can crop rotation, 2 mana, Thespian Stage, activate, bam. I might not win if I don't take this turn to play the extra creature, though. I am going to hold up the Shoulder's Edict, though. I think, and I'm wrong, but I think that if my opponent got rid of their tutor for Thespian Stage, like, there's a very good chance that they just have a crop rotation. Or they have the stage already. Okay, sure, that works too. This means that I am not proactively doing damage, and like I am the beatdown. Looks like my opponent's just going to go ahead and make it now to play around Wasteland better, which is perfectly reasonable, but is much better for me mana-wise. Please sacrifice a creature token. The Stalker is kind of whatever. We're just going to play Cavalry. And I probably take 1 more hit from Endurance. I don't know, my opponent might not double attack in. Maze of Ith is weird in that regard. Oh, this stuff blocks. This can be a removal spell if I draw a land. Do I Wasteland the Maze of Ith now, or do I tap the Wasteland to destroy a Dryad Arbor? It matters if my opponent draws a Wasteland. A Wasteland's my Wasteland. I think I'm into killing the Dryad Arbor and getting in for 2 points of damage this turn. Crop rotation's sacrificing the Bojuka Bog in response rather than the Dryad Arbor? Okay. That's fine. I'll pass the turn here. Next turn I'll get that Maze of Ith. A removal spell for Dryad Arbor or Endurance would be kind of cool. So my opponent's going to hit for 3. We'll see if they then just Maze of Ith to untap this. They do. I could return a Stalactite Stalker and then kill Dryad Arbor next turn. Okay. Guess I'm going to have like Echoing Deeps on this Maze of Ith as a thing that I'm going to need to think about. Getting Crop Rotted, we're getting Enduranced. Sure. I might need to start thinking about trading an Exsanguinator Cavalry for an Endurance, unfortunately. I don't think I can just take 6 on the attack. Go to 5. Oh. Alright, how am I winning this game? How am I beating these construct tokens? What's my plan? I trade Reanimates online. Bowmaster can kill some stuff. Dismember stuff out. Snuff out. Evasive Griefs. I think I'm going to take the hit and try to scale these up beyond what my opponent is capable of doing. My opponent did not untap here. So let's attempt to blow up the Maze of Ith and see if it works. What if there's only one maze? That would be cool. Now it's a Thespian stage. Like, that is a good Magic the Gathering card. I get to send in with both of these. Gain 4 life, scale. No! Fucking stop. Just stop. Have you considered not? Alright. My opponent can copy this Urza Saga, and things can get a little gross. I can reanimate something like an Elvish Reclaimer. Don't have enough lands in graveyard. I might need to high roll higher than reanimate. Thank you, Gromux. I think, like, Reanimate Elvish Reclaimer, 2 mana, get a tapped Wasteland to blow up an Urza Saga is just ultimately going to be too slow. Like, I am probably dead on my opponent's next attack step. Oh, yeah. We are the beatdown, and my opponent has, like, brought it to turn 10, and, like, this is where we're going to kind of see some of the shortcomings of my deck. That was turn 10, and I think I had like 4 mana in play. So I think these have got to go here. Leyline seems mid, Force of Despair seems mid, Plague Engineer seems mid. Plague Engineer has Death Touch for some of these endurances and stuff. That's probably the way that I need to go. My Bowmasters also are like not particularly good, huh? That's not great. Not gonna like kill the Reclaimers. I don't really want to Leyline. Leyline does not have points of power and toughness. And the things that are currently in my deck have power and toughness or are removal spells other than the Thoughtseizes, which I also don't think are the best. This not being a fetch land is awkward for scaling this up. If I keep this, I go to 15 on turn 1, I Thoughtseize my opponent. Then I Troll Cycle into Stalactite Stalker onto Dauthi on 3. Okay. I'm not excited about it, and I'm pretty much immediately dead to a Called Shot Wasteland on this land. 17, and then 15. My opponent's hand is very redundant, but doesn't actually have much mana. This Green Sun for Dryad Arbor might be holding together their entire hand. This card's really good if they top deck a land. I think keeping them from casting these Knights by trying to take this is my best option. Yeah, my opponent says I got 30 lands. I hope I'm okay. Yep. And I am hoping for those times where you aren't. I'm in on the Swamp Cycle. I'm in on the Stalker. I don't think I need to like immediately take Crop Rotation or the Liberator with Grief. I think I'm going to wait a while on that. Yeah. Now I might Grief this turn. Can't actively remove the Elvish Reclaimer here because of a Sajiri step. Let's descend. I could put 2 of these on Elf. Does that work? So you fetch, and then you activate. That's 2 in graveyard. No, that's not going to work. So let's Dauthi. Okay, my opponent did not naturally fetch first. Oh. Now I've got to take that crop rotation, I think. Oh, oh no. Stage as a natural draw. F. All right. So I need to draw a Sholdred's Edict. And I assume my opponent just activates on their turn so that, like, Wasteland can't be a thing. Or wait, I don't have a Karakas that I can fetch out with their crop rotation. Wasteland doesn't do the trick now. Reanimate does not produce a flyer. I'm not at enough life to just sack this and buy a turn. That'll do. My opponent top decked pretty well there. GG's. That was a really intricate set of games. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and honestly, they're just the best at what they do. If you need to keep your deck lists online, this is the way to do it. They have all sorts of different viewing options. You can condense that text if you like things to be tight. You can make them visual grids. You can put them in stacks. You've got all sorts of different ways to kind of view and visualize your deck lists, and they also have some really cool functionality, like allowing you to see playtest hands and even fully playtest your decks. So check them out. Awkward. So, like, only one of these is a fetch land, so I can... No. So I go land, Stalker, Grief, or probably Grief, Pitch, Chancellor, then Stalker. Turn 2, I fetch. I'll have a 3/3 Menace creature. I will have gotten a free Lightning Helix and taken one of my opponent's cards. I think this is a little sketch. Let's keep it to see how it feels. The people will yell at me if I never Chancellor of the Dross in this league, so... For science, for the people. Reveal. Lightning Helix you. Cool, cool. My opponent is on 5 cards. He's just gonna loam. My Grief is probably pretty bad. Yeah. At least I have a bunch of basic swamps, so, like, I'm not just gonna get Wasteland locked out of this game. So I'm still gonna Grief and pitch the Chancellor. Like, it is a way for me to descend right now without using the fetch land. Right, we hit a map, which is, like, obviously good to disrupt a tutor. But I don't expect to be favored against these, like, lands and pseudo-land style decks. All right, so we get confirmation that we're playing against sphere lands specifically. I don't so much care about the sphere side of things most of the time, I don't think. But, like, the 2020 and the pile of things like Maze of Ith, Glacial Chasm, that sort of stuff, I think I'm going to be bad against, generally speaking. I am notably at 22 right now because of the Chancellor from the beginning of the game. So I don't die in one hit. Maybe that becomes relevant. All right. Got kind of lucky on the dredge there. Yavimaya is good for my opponent because it'll turn Dark Depths into a mana-producing land. But joke's on them because then all my things will be bayous. Alright, Cavalry. I mean, Cavalry into Cavalry is kind of hot. I don't think the lifelink is relevant. Like, I don't think we are going to get to 40 life before my opponent either is dead or kills me. We've continued to dodge Thespian stage, which is great. My opponent will get a Wasteland. Now they can remove a counter from Dark Depths and start working towards their 2020. Oh, this is actually actively good for me. And I think I added a 5th swamp to the deck. Was that the number that I added? No, I went up to 6. Got it. So these Exsanguinator Cavalries do trigger each other here. So I do get 2 counters. And my opponent is facing down lethal. I don't think I need Agadeem's Awakening. Let's go ahead and loot that away. Dismember is probably not relevant. So these creatures have Menace. I can pay for a Tabernacle. I just attack through a 2020 without caring. Because all of these creatures have Menace. Evasion confirmed good. And opponent sees the writing on the wall. So my ley lines are probably going to be more actively good this round than last round, I think. So I have to decide how much removal I'm going to play for Elvish Reclaimer specifically. My Bowmasters aren't very strong. I think Bowmasters become ley lines. I always want Sheoldred's Edict. I think that's about the extent of it. I could consider Null Rod. I think this means I'm trimming 2 of these. Again, the life can be relevant here. Unsure if this is better than just this. Bowmasters is probably just better as something that, maybe does 3 to 5 damage over the course of a game, but I've been bribed to play Chancellor, so let's keep some in the deck. Reveal Chancellor, go to 23. Chancellor is under Chrome Mox. I have turn 2 Exsanguinator Cavalry. I don't know that this hand brings joy. Turn 1 Thoughtseize. Turn 2 Dauthi Voidwalker. Keep Reanimate to bring it back. Have Cavalry. Mulligan Chancellor. The Chancellor's life is probably not enough to make me survive 1 hit if I'm going to keep both of these cards. Exploration is spooky. That means that my opponent has a chance to play out some things like Expedition Map that my Thoughtseize potentially would be taking. Let's see what we get, or if we even get anything. Okay, it is what. I believe I am taking these swords here to keep my Dauthi Voidwalker alive. My opponent can cast Naked Life from the Loam to get that engine going. Maze is rough. So, I will Dauthi. That makes this Life from the Loam worse. I don't think I want to give up 2 cards to take Endurance. I think I just want to cast both of these creatures. I'm definitely scared here. Sheoldred's Edict helps a lot. I don't really know that I have the luxury to just hold up that mana. Oh, that's annoying. And that's Exile specifically, so Reanimate doesn't help, and I don't think I am... Or no, I can't even use Sheoldred's Edict targeting myself, because that's templated as each opponent. Yeah, there's a very good chance that this Life from the Loam now just buries me. The Maze of Ith already just slows down my offense so much. Oh, yeah. The Ghost Quartering, can run me out of basics. Because my opponent can, just redeploy Ghost Quarter and immediately continue to attack my swamps if they so desire. And it's pretty free to do so. I have 1 more basic in my deck as of right now. Not great. Speaking of not great. So this creature doesn't get through. I'm going to get Ghost Quarter locked out of further mana. I'm going to Grief Pitch Chancellor. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. So Grief Pitch Chancellor. Take my opponent's Endurance. Reanimate. Target Endurance. And then clean out your graveyard for the purposes of that Life from the Loam. Now, all of a sudden, things are looking pretty good. That was a neat line. Now, I'm only going to do 2 or 3 points of damage per turn cycle, and I'm still, absolutely going to die to a Thespian's... Or I guess I don't die to a Thespian stage. I have the Sheoldred's Edict. Now, take your card. It'd be a cool time to draw a Wasteland. We'll see if my opponent values keeping their life total higher or keeping me from looting. I think letting the cavalry hit is a mistake, so I think they have chosen the correct line here. I would love to loot away this Chrome Mox and make this creature bigger. Alright, opponent's chilling. We'll get in for another 3 points of damage and we'll get mazed again. No surprises here. So I guess next I'm wondering, do I even Swamp Cycle? I have 1 Swamp left in my deck. I think I'm going to hold this Troll to potentially put under Chrome Mox or loot away. Being Ghost Quartered multiple times has put me in sort of a weird spot. Don't love that. I can Sheoldred's Edict and Urza's Saga token at some point. Yeah, so this fetch land is currently live for that swamp in my deck. We may end up casting a Troll. It'll be 3 damage just like last time. Shadow Spear can potentially be an issue. So there's a little bit of tension here. I have a 1 in 45 shot at drawing my 1 swamp. But I also have Stalactite Stalkers. So I want to keep the fetch land. But I would love the fetch land to actually produce mana. Difference between Chrome Mox and Dark Ritual is absolutely massive right here in this spot. Like, if these were Dark Rituals, I would be casting the Troll. Colorless Mana? Go on. Crop Rotation. Okay. They are going in, and that's fine. Like, I have the answer to that actively. Please sacrifice a creature token, if you would be so kind. Opponent is now down 2 lands. I need 2 more attack steps to kill them. I potentially need to not get this Marsh Flats Pithing Needled. I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and fetch. This could be a Mox Diamond. Be some Graveyard Hate. This could be an Expedition map. It is a Shadow Spear. Oh no. Exploration here means that the Urza Saga tokens can be live next turn. This is going to be an incredibly tight game. Like, my next attack is fine. Okay, they're going to go the combo route instead. Here, Shadow Spear on a 2020. Turning it into a 2020 lifelinker is decent. I'm just going to confirm, I believe that I have 6 swamps. 3, 6. I have 6 swamps. This fetch land is not live. Hit in for 5. Yeah, but I've just got too many dead cards here. I don't think I'm quite going to do this. Endurance is not going to be a valid blocker for this 2020 because my opponent can just equip with Shadow Spear and then trample over for lethal. I think my opponent is supposed to activate on their own turn to play around Wasteland. They are not doing it, though. That doesn't do it for me. So if I attack in with both, my opponent mazes 1, blocks 1, I die. So I need my opponent to not see equip Shadow Spear. All right, there's the 2020. And like, I'm dead on board. Yeah, that's disappointing. We were so close there. So incredibly close. Don't know that I want Null Rod. Chrome Mox feels really bad. I'm going to resubmit as is. It says no starting mana source, unfortunately. It says no starting mana source, unfortunately. I mean, on 5, we're probably not doing much better. Again, Chrome Mox being Dark Ritual here would be so huge. Like, starting with this in play, scaling from turn 1 is massive compared to, like, maybe playing it on turn 3. Maybe. I don't think I can afford to keep a Chrome Mox here and go down another card. Wasteland on these is rough. I just fully don't expect to win this game. I think I'm just going to get drowned by Urza's Saga tokens. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. Like, even if my opponent does not assemble the combo, I just don't know that I am going to beat, like, Saga token into Shadow Spear. I don't think my hand is aggressive enough. And unless my opponent randomly has a Life from the Loam-centric hand, which happens sometimes. But unless that's the case, fighting a massive uphill battle. Okay, that's fine. Descend versus potentially using later. I think I'll keep this for Descend. Pay the blood price. Paying the life doesn't matter that much. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to rip a swamp out of the deck and loot away the crypt. God damn it. I'm so fucking tired of Maze of Ith. Fuck you, Maze of Ith. Crop rotation into a new one. I was joking. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I've got Menace. You can do that. That's allowed. So let's start scaling this up. Yeah, I think I was supposed to fetch last turn. Having thought about it for a little bit longer. Sure. Let's do this. See if we can find like a Dauthi Voidwalker or another creature to play. Reanimate is not particularly strong. Like, my leyline is here, and my opponent is pretty unlikely to kill my creatures. Like, exiling is going to be more common. Yes. God damn it. No. Now, and like not even Wasteland saves me. Like I Wasteland this, they Thespian stage copy it. Attacks do nothing. Chancellor of the Dross also does nothing. Yeah, so my opponent now has 2 copies of Maze of Ith against my aggro deck. I think at this point it doesn't matter that I've shut off their graveyard. Yeah, that's irrelevant. Karanos, forgive me for what I am about to do here. Here we go. I choose my Chancellor of the Dross. This is some fucking unholy shit right here. Alright. Now, as soon as I have one more creature, I can start doing something. Okay, alright. Yeah. I guess it's technically correct to attack in to make my opponent tap these things. Because, like, with Yavimaya, they are mana-producing lands, after all. The problem, the Maze or the Urza's Saga? Probably the Maze. Let's take out a Maze. Now things get to connect. Oh, the Cavalry got mazed. Alright, so my opponent is going to just go up for a straight-up chump block to preserve life here. And not let me get the... the blood token. Blast Zone. My creatures are at different CMCs. That's not too bad. Note that the creatures are not... or my opponent's cards are not getting void counters for Leyline of the Void. I think I misspoke a second ago. Sure. Why sorcery speed? Did you draw Shadow Spear or something? Endurance? Could end up in a double block situation. Regardless, I think I am turning creatures sideways. I don't think I'm playing around stuff. It's very hard for me to play around stuff when Maze of Ith exists. My opponent might have played out the extra Yavimaya to charge Blast Zone up by 1. My opponent is taking 9, going to 2, so this can't tap for 2 mana currently. Okay, I'm going to pass the turn here. Blast Zone does not tick up. Make second construct. Get Shadow Spear, equip Shadow Spear. Have a 5/5 blocker. I attack with these 2. That's still lethal. So instead, they could attack for 5, go to 7. Maze my big one, take 6. That works. That keeps them alive. Alright. I guess there are also... are there expedition map lines that work? Probably not with this amount of mana. I guess it depends on how many lands my opponent has in hand and whether or not they enter tapped. Alright, it is an expedition map line. So this is presumably the Dark Depths. Savannah. And not play it. And not play it. I believe that means my opponent is deterministically dead. Yeah, you can maze 1. This flies and kills you. You can double block this. Alright, we got there. Chancellor of the Dross won a game of Magic. Scoreboard. It did the thing. Alright, I think my opening hand here just has too much mana. I don't think this does enough. My opponent is from Brazil. Hello, Brazil. Now I've got Troll into Reanimate. I am into this. I probably get rid of Sholdred and keep some amount of interaction for whatever my opponent is potentially playing. The Dismember is like a little risky in terms of life total. Oh? Alright. This is cool. I saw this in I think it was a 5-0 finish. Okay. So this is presumably like Grixis, Delver with DRC, maybe some Surveil lands. Reanimate. I don't think I'm snapping off Wasteland here. Ponder's fine. Is there a pseudo like Ponder cantrip that just surveils and draws a card? Because if so, I'm interested. Alright, so like the good news is we're not getting attacked, you know, immediately as if this was a Delver or a Stalactite Stalker or whatever. This turn is incredibly difficult. My ideal is Reanimate Troll. It resolves Wasteland my opponent. I can Wasteland the open Underground Sea to play around Spell Pierce type cards. Or I could just like play Reanimate, Swamp for second Reanimate for if the first one gets countered. I guess I could play Reanimate Dazably and then have some pivot room. I think I'm into wasting the open mana. It's a little weird because like this potentially forces a Brainstorm, which is a card that I would like my opponent to not cast because of Bowmasters. All right, there is a Daze. I don't mind too much since I have the second one, but it's definitely weird. Lotus Petal even. Oh, I see. It's for hard types. And this is a 3/3 immediately. Like, it matters. I feel like these turns have been, relatively speaking, incredibly complicated. I think I'm into the immediate removal spell on this. Paying some life. Yeah. So my opponent gets to Surveil. I don't care about this quite yet. Go to 10. If I reanimate this troll, it might just be better for me to Bowmasters, ping my opponent, play another Bowmasters the following turn. A lot of it depends on how many times my opponent can Surveil. Yeah, I think I am going to now reanimate a Bowmaster, and will make my opponent's cantrips worse, which in turn makes this creature worse. Menace is good. If my opponent doesn't put a permanent into graveyard, I just get to kill this with the Bowmaster, which is quite nice. So get out. This is a 3/3 defender. My attacks aren't great right now. I think that's fine. I don't know. I don't actually have all that much removal in this deck. Maybe we'll find some of my opponent's removal if I do this. Like I could find like a lightning bolt that removes this. Hey, it's a lightning bolt that removes this. I'll take this 3. Opponent's got a Bowmaster in hand that they currently can't deploy. Oh, now they can. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and Swamp Cycle. Get Swamp. Play Swamp. Sack this. Bolt DRC. Don't have valid attacks. My opponent is not going to have great attacks either. Oh. One more. Yeah, if my opponent's like fetches and surveils again, I just die. I lose 1 orc. Opponent kills the full art one. Only 1 surveil land? That's very lucky for me. We're a little ways away from that being good. Uh-huh. No, my opponent had another surveil land. So now I am on chump block duty versus this thing, which is not good. Yeah, that's a good attack. All right. I'll bite. So if you had that... Oh, I see. An even better attack then. Yeah, I think I'm dead to this. I can technically survive another turn with a chump block, but the tides have turned here. So I want removal spells. I would like a lot of removal spells. Generally speaking, I'm not super excited about Thoughtseize. I am unsure whether or not I should get cute and keep the Chancellors in my deck. Force of Despair might not actually be good enough. The ley lines are maybe okay. I don't know whether or not my opponent has Murktide yet. I think I'm going to trim 1 and keep 1, or keep some of these for the people. So land, Grief, Pitch, Chancellor, place Stalker, Stalker scales up. This is fine. All right, reveal Chancellor. Start the game off the right way. All right, so we Grief Pitch the Chancellor. Opponent has Force of Will here. I can take their Ponder. The Force gets stuck in their hand. They have a 2/2 to my 2/2. Well, maybe the Stalker is annoying. I can kill the DRC with a Plague Engineer. Maybe. I'm going to take their easiest scaling threat, I think. And then see whether or not they want to stop my early aggression. Yeah, I didn't think so. Ooh. No, never mind. This still gets Grixis colors. A new Grief. I don't know how I feel about that. I think I don't like it. But I might end up griefing before I play Plague Engineer. It's a little weird, because the Troll was my way to get my third land drop. Bolt. You got it. A random Surveil that knocks me off of being able to kill this with Plague Engineer would be brutal. Sure. Like a Ponder is very bad. Annoying. My opponent is at 13. And the DRC doesn't get to be a blocker. So, like, those are things. Ooh. I think I'm fine dismembering this turn. I think I pay life once to play around days. Alright, my opponent either does not have a blue card or did not want to use it. Probably does not have, but there's some blue cards, you know, like the hypothetical Murktide Regent that might just be worth keeping. Yeah, I'll probably play this in my opponent's upkeep. Do your thing. It's Surveil time. I'm gonna let them draw. Alright, so that one finally gets played. I'm gonna do end of turn Bowmasters, and then if my opponent Bowmasters my Bowmasters, I'll Plague Engineer. And if they force, I'm happy enough with the 2-for-1. Alright. So, like, is the last card Daze? It's a little annoying if it is. But this is also potentially my last opportunity to easily take a card out of hand. Petty Theft, sure. This is like really good information. Like now I know that I can put my Plague Engineer on Rogue for value. Sure. Normally I would be naming Orc, but like this is so free. It's not a literal removal spell, but it is an effective removal spell. Oops, all Surveils. And they like it. Alright, it's weird that my opponent kept their card and then conceded. I'm gonna go ahead and resubmit. So I don't think this hand is exciting, but I have a good mix of mana and spells. Like I have 1.5 removal spells here. I have the ability to wasteland if I think that's a good idea. I think this hand is not worth throwing back. Yeah, that's fine. I think given that I have 4 swamps in hand, I just go in on removing that and reset the game. I am kind of lucky that I don't have any reanimates here. All right, no like early DRC. That is great for me. These Plague Engineers are shaping up to be quite good. Kind of keeping an eye on graveyard type count over there. Your wasteland has no power here. Troll is reasonable. If my opponent doesn't play a creature, I might not even play a 3-drop into their potential days. Like, I might just have the freedom to fully play around that. I don't think we're casting that this game. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to play a card into days or play a card into just, like, fetch Lightning Bolt. Like, I would love for my opponent to play the first creature, Ice Shoulder's Edict. You know, they, like, maybe fight over it, and then I, like, Cavalry or Engineer, depending on how things look. The Dismember. I think I feed a Plague Engineer first. I think this creature is more valuable. I think I'm going to put it on Orc, as that is the flash creature that could come in immediately. With my opponent having 6 cards in hand and not... Wow, no end of turn removal spell either? What's over there? Oh, did you just, like, super play around Bowmasters since I didn't play anything? Your hand is just, like, full of cantrips that are stuck there. That's, like, super reasonable, but kind of funny if that happened. There's a Petal. Stalker is fine. Like, I have active removal spells for that. I'll probably just dismember it playing around days. This is land 5 of 6 fetchables. I think I am dismembering for 4 life. I just don't want to turn days into a live card this game if possible. This is on Orc, so my attack in is maybe safe or safe adjacent. 16. I think I'm now good with dropping this. That's not surprising. Okay, so like Phantasm, that was not really usable. Makes sense as something that could have been in hand. No threats. Another Bowmaster. Send it. Okay. Am I getting bolted? I am getting bolted. That probably just means I fire off another one immediately. Put it right back on Orc. And pass the turn. Alright, opponent's chilling. I think I am just going to hold up Bowmasters. Ooh, that's hard castable. It is a new bolt. You got it. I'm just going to pass the turn. Surveil land is fine. And they like it. I'm going to do it. I think some portion of the time this just gets like Bowmastered. Like Bowmasters is a very reasonable card that my opponent might have had in hand for a while. But I think I am probably going to be tapping out or close to it in the not too distant future. I think this is fine. Enough out, not great currently. So I haven't given my opponent good days targets. I believe it is correct for me to cast my troll despite that. Oh, wow, okay. Sweet. I would offer creature for creature given how tough this thing is to block without a pile of extra things. Like, I was fully expecting this to just get dazed, and then I, like, resolve this later after having cleared the daze. This is not quite a 2-turn clock on its own. Cavalry's totally fine. Removal spell? What are we doing in draw step? Are you gonna surgical me? Surgical on cavalry when I drew cavalry that turn. Brutal. So that must have been one of the things that has just kind of been rotting in my opponent's hand. Oh no, did my opponent just not take the one from my hand? Oh no, okay, there it goes. My opponent has said there's some lag. My opponent has wished me the best and said they don't think they can beat me anyway. GG's. This is a really weird hand. Like, this is probably an exceptional 6-card hand, ignoring Chrome Mox. I think I'm just gonna keep it. Like, some portion of the time I get to, like, turn 1, Thoughtseize my opponent, take a creature, Chrome Mox, imprint, snuff out, reanimate, followed up with Dauthi Voidwalker. And that's kind of nuts. Generally speaking, though, I am still wishing Chrome Mox was Dark Ritual. Like, Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize, Voidwalker is, I think, largely just better. All right, let's see how good this hand is going to be. So if I take their Bowmasters, I can have Dauthi Voidwalker in play by the time they can Sheoldred's Edict. That seems good. And it's not like the Snuff Out is going to be super relevant in this matchup. All right, cool. So we'll see if my opponent is playing Shadow or not in a minute. Love tap for 2. I think I just play this as a, I guess there's days to think about. Yeah, cool. All right, it's just going to be a land and pass. I do have to think about my opponent having drawn their own Bowmaster. Like, that's a thing. I think I am just going to ignore that thing. Ooh, maybe we're beans. I'm going to sacrifice a non-token creature. That'll be my Dauthi Voidwalker, since I know my opponent has that Brainstorm. So with one more land drop, this is actually a relevant spell. I think I'm just going to save this. Now, the Sauron's Ransom is not true card draw. Chromox is pretty terrible at this stage of the game. What are we doing in my draw step here? Nothing. I think we're going to continue to ignore flash creatures and deal damage. 12? And I'll be passing the turn. This is predictable. So the delve spells are not actually online right now. They're pretty close to online. I would like to trick my opponent into taking Ponder. How do I trick them into that? I need to make the top pile look appealing. I probably do something like this. Just make the top one look too good. Like, the double delve thing is very awkward. Yeah, I think this results in my opponent taking the Ponder. I guess I didn't count these cards going to graveyard, though. Yeah, I didn't count those cards going to graveyard. Oh, nice. I did trick my opponent into taking the worst pile. I win the leveling game this time. Would you perhaps care for a ponder? So, ooh, that's cute. Got it. That seems like a very strange time to cast the ponder. Like the ponder could have fueled Murktide Regent more. Maybe my opponent was playing around a daze there and they think that I'm blue-black. So do I want the menace creature? Or do I want a Dauthi Voidwalker right now? I think the menace creature is good and I maybe get the Dauthi Voidwalker later anyway. And if this gets countered randomly, if I Agadeem's Awakening for X=2, I can get the Stalker and the Voidwalker. We're going to descend, scale this up, and pass the turn. Sauron's Ransom is coming again. This is a much better assortment of cards. 2 of these things kill the Stalker. Well, actually, I guess since this has scaled, it doesn't kill it. My opponent has not made a land drop yet. If I give them land drop Fatal Push, that kills this. These don't kill it. Maybe I'm just okay with it dying. Like, I show them land Fatal Push. If they take land Fatal Push, like this dies, I bring it back with this. And if they don't, they take 2 removal spells, but they're slower. Okay, so they are going to take the Kill It Now card. Oh, okay, they're going to go on the Bowmasters instead. That's fine. I'm just slightly surprised. Oh, okay, now I'm not. I get it. This is not optional. Okay, yeah. Beans confirmed. I'm at 10. Bowmasters is neat because I know my opponent has the Brainstorm. So I send in for the 4. And I think I just passed the turn. Oh no. There's 5 in there. That is an attack for 10. That's not good. I'm not technically dead to this. Like, I can sack this, give this -3, -3. If I flash in Bowmasters, I can hit my opponent for 2, bring them to 4, dead to this. Can't do this and play Bowmasters at the same time. That was very close. We kind of bottomed out in the mid game. Plague Engineers are okay. Sheoldred's Edicts are okay. Force to Despair, Leyline of the Void are all okay. Can't really get more threat dense, which is conceptually what I would like to do. I think my opponent has enough card advantage that, like, and enough varied removal spells that, like, Thoughtseize isn't going to get me to where I need to be. I'm going to go Plague Engineers in. Dismember usually kills a Murktide, but doesn't always kill a Murktide. Might want Chancellor. Like, this is a match where it could conceptually go long enough that I could actually cast those. I'm just going to go +1 removal spell for the Murktides. Double Chrome Mox is not what I want to see in an opener. This is a lot of card disadvantage. I think it is worth it to mulligan to have something that plays a better early game. Like, this is essentially 5 mana sources. I don't think this is going to work. Yikes. Well, it's a keep. It is definitely scary, though. A spell that destroys this Chrome Mox is basically game over for me. All right. Bolt you. Grief, get rid of the Chancellor. And then I decide if I'm stalking on 1 or reanimating on 1 based on what my opponent's hand is like. I think I'm always taking the Force of Will the first time. The Veil of Summer here makes a lot of things awkward. Like, if I want to grief, I kind of need to grief now. So this is me going all in on a turn 1 grief in a way that I don't really like. I think I just take the Brainstorm and hope for the best here. I think the best is, like, I draw a fetch land or a troll or something that lets me scale this up immediately. The Reanimate is not super good here. So if my Stalker doesn't scale up, then it is vulnerable to my opponent drawing Bowmasters. I have protection from the grief for the purposes of the Edict. I expect my opponent is just going to cycle Veil. We'll see if we do some reasonable magic things. Ooh. If my opponent, like, Bowmasters, my Reanimate becomes live. Yeah. See what they're dealing with here. Sure. Are you gonna double block beyond that? Yep. Seems good. Bowmasters or Grief? I think I Grief and take the Sauron's Ransom that I know about. Oh my god. Maybe I have to take the Murktide Regent so I don't get clocked back. Oh, that land drop's incredibly good for my opponent. Thank you, Chromebox. I don't think I get in for 3 more attack steps with this Grief. It's just going to Sauron's Ransom and find removal. How many lands do I have? 1? It's kind of hard to make this one work for me. I don't think I can show them Veil plus Ponder and expect that to work. Do I think I've lost this game? Yes. Is there a way I can do this in like a 3 pile that makes sense? Not really. 2 removal spells here is awkward. I think I am going to show them the Brazen Borrower and hope that I can redeploy the Grief later or put the Grief under Chrome Mox. And if they take the face down pile, I think Veil of Summer is worse than Ponder. Alright. Okay. Opponent feels safe enough that they are setting up. That is terrible news for me. Sure. And once I don't flash in Bowmasters in response to this trigger, like, they know their Brainstorm is safe. Seems good. Ugh. Not having any sort of like Phyrexian Arena, Dark Confidant style card advantage here is a little rough. Just gonna Mystic Sanctuary this shit back. Right, they're getting the Edict back. Agadeem's Awakening, not really strong right now. Am I getting borrowed? Or am I getting edicted? I am eating an edict. And then I pass the turn. Life's bad, folks. If this is a Murktide, I'll take my draw step and then probably concede to it. Like, the Murktide that double cantrips and is a 2-turn clock is, like, good enough. Yeah, I can, well, I guess this is technically a live line, right? I guess it's not a live line. My opponent still has Brazen Borrower. Yeah, okay. Dead. GG's. Alright. I've got a Grief Reanimate hand. We're keeping. Oh no. We have already figured out that Maze of Ith decks are an uphill battle. Osphere is annoying, but probably fine. So this just means that I probably spend the turn Chrome Moxing to guarantee Dauthi Voidwalker next turn. I think I'm just getting rid of the Grief here. Like, the whole Grief Reanimate scam thing is significantly less good when my opponent is likely to have a fistful of lands of some kind. Yep. Narrator's voice. They did not have a fistful of lands. Alright. A3 life. I think I am into producing the Troll immediately. I was thinking about playing the Dauthi Voidwalker, so I didn't necessarily have to take the 3 life damage. I've saved that and done that next turn. Yeah, I lightning bolted myself for funsies. My opponent might... Woohoo! My opponent might end up kind of stuck under their own sphere, which is great for me. 6 damage. That's 13. I think this is just a tapped land. Do a 3-mana Dauthi, shut off life from... Well, not fully shut off life from the loam. Make life from the loam worse. I'm like surprisingly good versus Maze of Ith style cards right here. Saga's fine. I outrace that, and my creatures are hard to block. Crucible also fine. Like, the whole exploration Crucible fetch land thing is pretty cute, but Dauthi Voidwalker keeps it from repeatedly coming back. We'll bash for 9. Opponent's at 4. 2 of my 3 creatures need to be answered, or my opponent is dead. And none of them can be blocked by an Urza's Saga token. There needs to be some sort of Glacial Chasm style card that can stop everything. Alright, my opponent goes into the tank and ultimately concedes. I'm not great at answering enchantments. We can use Leyline of the Void to fight the graveyard-based stuff. We can use Sheoldred's Edict to help out with Merit Lage. Bowmaster's not great. Thoughtseize not great. Chancellor, eh. I think just a fully uphill battle. I'm going to go these out for ley lines. I think I'm going to keep the snuff outs and the dismembers. Elvish Reclaimer is a thing. Maybe go down 2 Thoughtseizes to finish things out. Especially on the draw, the Thoughtseizes are kind of rough. I think I'm going to keep this one, but only put 1 Leyline of the Void into play and put the other under a Chrome Mox. My threats are pretty medium here. And this hand is not going to line up the best against what my opponent led on. It's a basic land. Ugh. I can't like start scaling this up immediately, and I can't wasteland my opponent. Rough. They probably also won't attack with Elvish Reclaimer. They went into the tank for a little while before just playing another Reclaimer. Guess I play this to use my mana, but doesn't feel great. Most of this whole scenario just like doesn't feel great. I think I am just going to awkwardly do this so that I descend and start scaling this up. And I maybe save the troll for next turn as my descend. Because I can still troll plus Bowmasters. I just couldn't play a 3-drop if I ripped one. Sure. The Reclaimers are live. They are going to remain 1/2s. But those 1/2s are holding the ground right now. That is kind of lucky timing, considering that I have a troll in hand. Yeah, I drew the 3-drop. Would I trade an Elvish Reclaimer for a Stalker? Actually, can I even do that? No, it's a double block. Let's just kind of wait here. Do this, make the land drop, and pass? I think that's fine. I could get more aggressive with attacks this turn. Just feels so easy to get blown out by Sajiri. The Saga-ing? No. Is going a combo route. I'm just not gonna beat that theoretical 2020 unless I draw an Edict. Yikes. It's just happening. But I can do it right now to play around Wasteland. Yeah, not great. I don't think I need to Bowmaster end of turn. Like, I draw an Edict or I don't. I guess I can technically sack this to get one more draw step. No, it just gets protection. Dead. Let's hit the next game. So, fetch a land. Chrome Mox. Imprint Grief. Play Dauthi Voidwalker into Exsanguinator Cavalry with a Sheoldred's Edict backup. That's fine. It's not necessarily the sexiest thing in the world, but it's what I've got to work with. Fetch. And play a little Shadow Boy. We are fully on the turn creature sideways, hope it works plan. I can Edict a Reclaimer if it's played out. I would really prefer not to do that, but I think I would probably have to. My opponent's now sitting there thinking about something. They've got a couple plays. Means maybe they're thinking about a Mox Diamond. It is a Swords that they were thinking about. Which is annoying because, you know, exile. Hit myself. Play Cavalry. Cavalry can loot away the Reanimate in theory. Exploration. That can allow my opponent to kind of regain some tempo. That's brutal. And then a Wasteland. Rough. So I get 2 damage, and this will scale up every turn, but not being able to play this Exsanguinator Cavalry immediately. Unless... yeah. I think it is worth doing this way. Get both those in play, both those scaling up. The Menace matters a lot versus single Urza Saga token blocker. I'm more scared of Merit Lage than anything else right now, though. All right, a little more acceleration in the form of Mox Diamond. And Crucible. So Crucible Wasteland is a thing. Crucible Saga is a thing. I guess I'm edicting that. I really don't want to use this edict. I don't think I get to let my opponent tutor here. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. This is 5 damage this turn, 7 damage next turn. Or no. 5 damage this turn, 9 damage next turn. They see each other. The blood tokens are kind of legit, but slow. Saga can tutor map. Map can tutor a glacial chasm sort of card. Would lock up my mana pretty badly. Opponent's floating mana. Alright, there's a map to tutor. And a blast zone. New Urza Saga. There's the tutor. Presumably for something that makes me sad. It is a Maze of Ith, which my opponent did not play. Okay. Well, I guess we're attacking for 9 as a starting point. Sure. So my opponent's plan is what? Funnel this into Blast Zone, blow all this stuff up. Got it. I'm going to pay the life for this. Play a Stalker. I'll end of turn Bowmaster my opponent. Yep. Saga ticks up. 3 mana, activate Blast Zone. That kills these. It also kills Crucible. There's Maze. Not currently mana to activate Saga. Now there's mana to activate Saga. That's my opponent to 2. And we can just try to loot through. Oh, never mind. Show me something weird. I just let this resolve. You sacrifice a token, a creature token. And then I've got the kill through Maze of Ith. So we end up positive in this league with a 3-2. So how are we feeling at the end of the league? Well, we explicitly won a game with Chancellor of the Dross attacking, and I think we put it into play multiple times, so like I'm going to call that an effective win here. Something that wasn't immediately obvious to me during the deck tech was that we can also just use the blood tokens to discard the Chancellor so that we can reanimate those. That was not something that came up in this league, but it could come up if you end up playing a league with this or something similar. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze on Chancellor of the Dross, but we knew that going in. But, you know, it is always worth testing ideas, even the ones that you think are a bad idea, because sometimes you end up finding something that is much stronger than you expected it to be. We tried the Chancellor. I don't think it is better than other options. I think the Chancellor funnels us towards this Chrome Mox, which, again, I think was largely worse than Dark Ritual over the course of this league. I think it's hard to have, like, Chrome Mox and Grief and Force of Despair all in the same deck. Like, that's a lot when I don't have ways to truly draw cards. Like, I can filter a little bit sometimes, but that's about it. The Grief Shell has some very strong starts. I'm very happy with the inclusion of Stalactite Stalker here. I think that was great. And I think I took out Hymn to Turok from the original list. So I think overall I am happy with the list for what it is. Although I don't recommend going out and buying a whole bunch of copies of Chancellor of the Dross. But if you have some other sweet cards that you need, check out toamagic.com and use promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order. And folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.